Okay guys, so today we are doing a little reading that's been inspired by my own personal workings, what I'm doing in my own life. Let's just give the area a little cleanse first, and you can actually see this is the candle that I'm using at the minute. So I am doing a sort of soul revival for parts of my energy that I have suppressed or that I've lost when I was in survival mode, and the part of my feminine energy for when I felt as though I couldn't keep myself safe and I couldn't keep those parts of me safe, and so I chose to disconnect from those parts of my energy. And so I'm personally doing this own little spell in my own life, but I thought and I felt called to do a reading on it so that I can share the messages that I bring through, and they might be able to help you as well in your life. These candles I will have for sale very soon on my website, and I'm going to be making a little kit, a little spell kit to go with them to help you basically to know what to do with them. But let's just get straight into the reading. So obviously I've already cleansed the space, I've already called in protection and everything over the reading. I've asked that information comes through from a space of love and that it's for our highest and greatest good. So we are just connecting now and seeing what do we need to hear to do with this. So before I go into the reading, I'll explain a dream that I had last night, which could unfold as we go into the reading because I think it's linked. So in my dream last night, I dreamt that this man killed this woman, and he was like he was not in a good place, the man. He was just basically full of fear, and he killed the woman to protect her, not like he killed the woman through love so that no one else could hurt her. And I suppose that's symbolic for if you want to look at it in terms of ourselves, but you could also be something that's playing out in your life outwardly. But I always bring everything back to the self, and that would mean that, and it kind of resonates for me in my life, is like when you were in survival mode, when you were in predominantly in your masculine energy, certain parts of your soul that were more vulnerable had to be cut away and chopped away because you had to protect yourself. And so although it was hard, it was not a nice thing to do, it was done from a place of love. But what I'm doing personally in my life, and what maybe you could do in your life, or what this reading might help you to do, is call those parts of you back, because you might not be in those dangerous situations anymore, and so there's magic in those parts of your soul that you had to cut away. And so yeah, let's just see what the cards say and see what the messages are that we've got. So what do we need to hear about this? That wanted to come out. Let's see if there's anything else before we get started. Anything else we need to hear right now? No. Okay, so let's just see what the first three cards. Okay, so this happened due to karmic cycles, karmic situations that happened in your life. So if you look at the wheel of karma here, it's like we're whole, and then it goes around and we slowly start to lose a part of ourselves, and then we become engulfed into the darkness, and then it's like the yin and yang. Then we are starting to gain a bit of ourselves back again, and then we become whole again, and then we lose a part of ourselves, and then we become in the darkness, and then do you see what I mean? So it's like a cycle. So everything works in a cycle. The way nature works in a cycle, life works in a cycle, we work in a cycle, our cells work in a cycle. So let's say if you look back on your life 7 years ago, because generally we work in years. As humans, we work in cycles of 7 years. If you look back at the past 7 years, or where you were specifically 7 years ago, is not going to be the same place that you are now. Even if you're with the same partner, in the same job, doing the same thing, you are not in the same space mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. So within that last 7 year cycle, you could have been in a job that put you at risk, and when I say at risk, it doesn't mean like you were like held at gunpoint. It can literally just mean you were around people who triggered some of your insecurities in a certain area, and so in order to protect yourself, in an act of self-preservation, you chose, I am not going to show X, Y, and Z about myself, because if I do, it opens me up further to more vulnerability and more of this triggering energy that I'm not ready to deal with right now. So look at the way the cycles go. So you chose to like slice a little bit of your wholeness off, and then let's say another 2 or 3 years pass by, and it slowly chipped away at you and chips away at you. Even look at the stars. So like say let something major happen there, like you had a breakup, or you lost your job, or someone said something to you that really like stuck into you and hurt you, and it broke you down a little bit. And then let's say this next star, something happens in the family that just chipped away and broke you down even more. And then there was another one where you got knocked, you went for another job, or you tried to get into another relationship, or you put yourself out there in some way, and it knocked you even more. It knocked you even more into this like space of vulnerability and being closed off, and then you ended up in the darkness where you were just really struggling mentally, or you might have been struggling physically, emotionally, but in some way it impacted you. And then it's like that was the middle of the cycle, and then you slowly started to rebuild yourself and rebuild yourself and rebuild yourself. And it's like now you're at this point, you're at this new part in the cycle, or maybe you're not even at this new part in the cycle yet. Maybe you are somewhere within the cycle, but this reading is just to give you some clarity on the fact that things change, and it's a part of life is for things to fall away so that things can come back together, and it's the ebb and the flow of life. But I do feel drawn to the fact that because we've got, this is like a continuation. These are always a continuation of another reading that I've done, because I always remember the cards. So this, again, when I was saying like the stars and these like cataclysms that caused you to chip these parts of you away, they were burdens, but that is in a reversal now. So it's kind of telling me that like the burdens are gone, the burdens are over. Or maybe the burdens in the past were stopping you from having this new beginning. They were stopping you from seeing yourself in the correct light. They were stopping you from showing up in your true authenticity. And all of it is because of karma, the wheel of karma. So let me give you an example, because relationships is a very easy one to explain it in. Let's say 7 years ago you were with someone and they weren't the right person for you, and they treated you badly, and they made you have a lot of insecurities, and maybe they cheated on you. and now you're in a relationship with someone who's much healthier and they love you and they support you. But certain things that they do, although they're not doing anything wrong, trigger you to feel insecure or trigger you to feel threatened or intimidated because of those past experiences. Or you struggle to open up in those scenarios because of past experiences, and you struggle to show your vulnerabilities in those scenarios because in the past, when you did show those vulnerabilities, they were not well received, or they put you in some sort of danger, or they made you feel vulnerable in some sort of way. So just see how something that happens in the past, the karma, the wheel of karma, is informing your future. And it's like, for every bad you've got to get a good, because it's the law of the yin and yang energy. So it's the negative and the positive. So it's like the swing of the pendulum. If you were so underconfident, it's only going to stay that way for so long until something triggers you to swing back to the other way, where you're going to be really confident again. And you might find that throughout your life you've had cycles of being really confident and really underconfident, because that's how it works, because it's like a spiral. We're going up and up and around on this spiral, and it's the spiral of healing, or the spiral of self-growth, or in psychology you'd call it the spiral of self-actualization. It's not linear. You don't go from point A to point B and you're like, I've healed that and now it's healed forever. You're kind of like, well, you're going round, or you could say you're going in a zigzag. So you're going to go up, and then it's going to get better, and then it's going to get worse, and then you'll learn the lesson and it'll get even better than it was last time. But then from that is like, there's still going to be another trigger of insecurity, and then you heal that and it gets better again. So it's like this progression. It's never always going to be in one state, because that's not the laws of physics. That's not the laws of the universe. That's not how life works. So, yeah, so the first part of the reading is about that, is about you basically putting yourself out there in some way in the past, getting hurt, and so, like the dream said, a part of you, a masculine or a yang part of you, whether you want to, whatever way you want to look at it, a more predominant part of you, but it was actually from a place of fear. It's like, symbolically, that's how it comes through in the dream, killed this part of you off, or hid this part of you away, so that you could remain safe within that environment. And we are looking for messages about how can we now revive that part of us, how can we now bring that part of us back. Like I said, I've made these little kits of it's like a self-love spell ritual type kit that I'm going to be putting out on my social medias very soon, so that could help you. That's what I'm doing now. I'm testing the ritual out to see if it works. But yeah, let's just ask the cards and see what card should we go for next. These ones, and see what we need to know next about it. Like what can we do, or what do we need to know about it, really? What do we need to know? So we know that happened in the past. We're trying to revive this part of us. Okay, thank you. Take that one as well. So bang on always. Look what we got, the mask. Of course, so I feel like that should go there. So there's this song called Mask On, Mask Off. Oh, did you hear that big crackle then? So that's a little sign. There's this song called Mask On, Mask Off. It's a good little song if you want to listen to it. But look the way the moon, it's kind of like it was taking its mask off and then it was putting its mask on. Coming out of the darkness into the light, and then again we're taking the mask on and mask off. So it's like you were, let's look at life in terms of the 7-year cycle. Okay, so from 0 to 7 we've got the mask off. we are our most truest and most vulnerable and most real self, because we don't have a concept of ego yet. We don't have an idea about, like, just bear with me 1 second. Sorry, just bear with me. I have to just pause that for a minute. Yeah, so from 0 to 7, we don't have this ego yet. We don't know about, like, oh, it's embarrassing in front of our friends, and you know, we're not that way inclined yet. Then from age 7 to 14 is like a time when we put the mask back on. We put the mask on because we start to go to school, we go to high school, and we start to understand that, like, oh, they think that's weird about me, or oh, they won't like it if I do that. So we kind of put the mask back on because we're developing a sense of self, we're developing a sense of ego, and so we put the mask back on. And then the next 7 years is what? We're 14 to 21. So those years is like when you go wild and you kind of take the mask off again, and you've probably got a proper group of friends, and this is the time when you're rebelling against your parents. So maybe you have the mask on when you're around your parents, but then when you go out with your mates and you can go and get pissed and do whatever you want to do, the mask comes off. And then you, from 21 up, you're going into like the work world then, where you've got to act professional and you've got to like be fake again, you've got to be inauthentic again. So you put on the mask on, and then that's just the general gist of cycles. But obviously we have relationships and things like that in between that can make us be, you know, we might have the mask on in front of our partners, and then we have the mask off in front of our friends. So it's this, like, it's you're never just in this one state. You're always, it's the swing of the pendulum. What goes up must go down, as above, so below. Yin, yang, black, white, whatever way you want to look at it. Next, you've got the vision, and I feel like it's just like, what is the vision that you have for yourself? What is the vision that you hold for yourself? Because look at all, it's like, it's a bit of both. It's like the masks on, the masks off. So it's dark, light, dark, light, dark. So it's the understanding the fact that the real you is a combination of both of these things, the person who has the mask on and the person who has the mask off. Because of course you've developed this personality with the mask on, you've developed these ideas, and you've developed this sense of self and this reality, and maybe you've got this job and you've got this house and you live in this area or whatever. So of course, everyone would love to just be able to completely take the mask off and go back to being a 7-year-old vulnerable person who doesn't have any responsibilities and doesn't have to show up and do anything in the world and all of this. But the reality is that we almost have to put this mask on in certain areas in order to keep ourselves safe and in order to function in society. Because if we don't have the mask on, let's say we're trying to act like a 7-year-old and we just go out and run in front of cars, or we want to run around in our underwear and, I don't know, climb trees, and you know, we can't function in society like that. It would be lovely if all of society was like that and we could all just be our most pure, innocent, true, authentic selves. But in order to actually cope and function in this society, it doesn't quite work like that. So the vision for you is a combination of these two things. You when you're your most vulnerable, and you also when you are in this more controlled sense of self. But what you've lost is like the look, like the emerald, the raw, like the glistening, the magic. You've lost the magic through putting this mask on so many times. And so this reading is about you regaining that magic and understanding what that magic is. And it's like, don't disregard everything that you have when you've got the mask on, but bring this element of you back into reality. So let's say you used to have a hobby and you loved it, and then you got to an age where your ego took over and said, don't do that hobby anymore. And so you stopped doing it altogether. or you did it but it was in a very inauthentic way. It wasn't really you, and it wasn't really how you wanted to do it. Now it's about it's about not it don't disregard it altogether. Keep doing it, but bring the magic back into it, bring the authenticity back into it, bring the real version of you back into it. The siren. So how do we actually do that? What do we need to do? Like, what are the next steps? How can we bring that magic back? How can we revive that part of our soul? Okay, not getting anything there. Let's try these cards. So what do we actually need to do? What do we need to bring back? What's some practical things that we can do? Take that one as well. Find our true sense of self-worth. Of course, being with discomfort. Get comfortable in the uncomfortable. Get comfortable being vulnerable again. Get comfortable being in that position where you were triggered 7 years ago. Put yourself, or it might not be 7, it might be 14 years ago, it might be 21 years ago. Put yourself back in that scenario that originally caused the damage. But this time, with all of these other skills and all of this sense of confidence and stuff that you've gained, go back into the scenario with that, and then you will see that, like, I've come on so much, and those pains and those wounds and me disconnecting from that magic and that part of myself isn't valid anymore, because I am so much more mature now, and I don't need to, like, hold back that magic. It says, at times of discomfort, I courageously seek my soul essence, which is clear, pure, and luminous. Exactly that. Exactly. So it's like, go back into those traumatic places. I'm not saying put yourself in danger. I'm saying, say you were confronted with an issue, someone was confrontational with you, or so you just got your confidence knocked. Say you used to go out and you used to dress a certain way. This is a silly example, but and then you drew so much bad attention from it that you stopped doing it again. And so let's say you don't even like that anymore, but just put yourself back in that scenario. Go out and just be a little bit more risk taking with it, or I don't know, going back to the hobby thing, say you used to have a hobby, and when you were a kid you really loved to do the hobby, and then as you got older you stopped doing that thing because you were just so embarrassed and the ego took over. Put yourself back in that scenario. Go back to a dance class, go back to a singing class, go back to an art class, go back to a football, whatever it is. Put yourself back in that scenario, because when you'll get there you'll realise that, like, those old wounds are useless. They're for something that happened years and years ago, and that's how you'll regain, like, being vulnerable, being with the discomfort of being there and being awkward and being the new person at the back is what you need, because that's what brings in this soul essence again, this magic again, because it puts you back in the mind frame of that 7-year-old kid who is a beginner again. It takes you out of all these restrictions of your ego where you're like, can't do that, won't do that, oh no, like, I could never go there, or like, it puts you back in that beginner's mindset again, and that's what you need to break this cycle and to regain more and more of this essence of vulnerability within you. Exactly, soul's truth. Like, how are you ever going to know what that magic is within you if you don't put yourself in the beginner shoes again, if you don't put yourself in the in, like, the trust of your soul again? If you're so closed off to things and so restricted to things, and you think that by doing that you're keeping yourself safe, but really you're not living, you're just existing because of it, then how will you ever know what could be if you never put yourself out there? So I did some readings on my TikTok last night. It was pile 3 of the Leo full moon reading. If you haven't watched that, watch that, because this kind of relates to it, but more so just the vision that I got. So I got a vision of, there was this big gorgeous castle, and there was this man patrolling the castle with a gun, and he was so fearful about anyone coming into the castle that he never actually went into the castle himself. He just kept patrolling with the gun, so he was like on guard, and the castle represents him. And the man with the gun also represents another element of him, a fearful element of him, an element of his ego that is being guarded. This is the castle, this is the magic, this is like the soul. This fearful part of you that when you were in survival is being guarding this part of you like fiercely, and so much so that you won't go into the castle and you don't know what is within the castle and all the adventure and magic. And the castle, like I say, represents you, so it could be talents, skills, abilities, dreams that you want to achieve, all of these things. But if you're so on guard around your soul, around your heart, and you'll never let anyone in, then you're just gonna continue to patrol the castle your whole time. You're never gonna go in and actually enjoy what's there and what's being given to you from God as your soul given gifts. I listen to my soul's simple truths and allow myself to unfold naturally. Exactly. It's not natural if you're so restrictive and you're so closed off to things. So you need to put yourself back in the areas of discomfort. You need to be willing to be seen again. You need to be willing to look stupid again and be the person at the back who doesn't know what they're doing, or I don't know, whatever it is that you want to do with your life. That's how you get the magic back. That's how you get the truer form of you back again. Because it's like we get so stuck and so in a funk, we get so used to the person that we are, that we almost go through life on autopilot. But going into a new place, going into a new arena where you've never been before, all your senses are heightened, because you've got to be aware, you've got to be looking at what's going on around you and who's there and am I safe, and you've got to have, like, you're fully present in the moment because you're somewhere that you've never been before, and that's where your soul lies, that's your presence. Okay, the final one is embracing change. With every loss, I understand that something new is about to be birthed beyond what I can imagine. So you have kind of built up this sense of security around yourself, a sense that you've got to this place where I wouldn't say you're overly happy and joyous, but you're not unhappy. You're quite comfortable in your life and you're quite happy with where things are and you're quite settled. And you've built up this sense of ego around you. And this is like your little safe space. And it's fine, you could stay there forever. Some people, they go through life and they do the same thing every day. They go to work, the same place. They go on holiday, the same places. They socialise with the same group of friends. And they do that their whole life and they're happy. But they're not really using the full potential, are they? Because they're in this little safe space, and it only takes one thing to bring them out of this safe space and to open them up to all of these opportunities, and to open them up to like this diamond that's in there. But in order to get to the diamond, you've got to be a beginner again. You've got to try again. You've got to bring yourself off your little safe perch in your little comfort zone and look stupid or feel a little bit vulnerable or a little bit unsafe, or because as well, don't forget, the ego, our mind, just tries to keep us safe. It doesn't want us to experience, it doesn't want us to try new things, it doesn't want us to, its sole purpose is to keep us safe and stop us from dying. So in order to do that, we wake up and we do the same thing every single day, because we know that predictability means that the brain can go on to autopilot, because it doesn't have to be hypervigilant, because we're just repeating the same thing we did yesterday. And if we repeat the same thing we did yesterday, we know there's no risk. There's no risk in us ever, we're not going to die if we just get up and have our breakfast and take the kids to school. I mean, of course, there's tragedies and things that happen, but I mean, take the kids to school, come home, do the dishes, clean the house, and maybe we go and do a little bit of work. Then we pick the kids back up from school, we cook tea, we watch our coddy and all that, and then we go to bed. The brain knows, oh, I've done that for the last 7 years or 20 years or whatever, so I don't really need to think about it. So your whole potential is like this 100%, but you're living on 15%, and you're using 15% every day, when really you've got this 100%. You've got all this magic within you that you're just not capitalizing on. So the advice is to embrace change. Listen to your soul and the truth of what you really want, irrelevant of where you are in your life, irrelevant of the people around you or the things that you're currently involved with. Wipe that, scratch that clean. Get comfortable in the discomfort and realise your true worth. When you see people and they achieve something amazing, they're no different than us. They just decided one day, like, no one was born as a rocket scientist. They just decided, I'm going to try this new thing, and then I'm going to continue with this new thing. And when they got there, they would have felt stupid. They would have felt like the person at the back who didn't know what they were doing. But then maybe after a year of doing it, they get a little bit better and they get a little bit more confident. And then 5 years, they start getting recognised and people are saying, oh wow, they're really good at what they're doing. 10 years, maybe they're making it, that's their business, that's their life. 20 years, maybe they get an award and they become like the top in their sport or their science, or they're famous or whatever. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and the only way for us to get that energy back from this vulnerability, this like childlike nature, is to get out and to try things and to listen to our soul and listen to our vulnerability, because we think that the ego knows everything, but really the heart does. The heart knows what we need, the heart knows what we want. One more card, let's go with these. Just one final card, and then I think, let's take them. 3 final cards, was that? Yeah. And then I think we'll call that the end of the message. Okay, so you've got the Devil and the Star in reverse. So it's like your ego and your purity have been at loggerheads, like what we've said the whole reading. The yang and the yin energy, the ego and the heart, the masculine and the feminine, have been at loggerheads this whole time, and because they're so closed off, no, I think there's a double meaning to this. So yeah, that's the literal meaning, but I'm getting your ego won't really know, and kind of like, even when you're in this heart state, you're never going to really know. When you're in this present moment, you're never going to really know, because the way information comes through to you is like you've got to show up and be present, and then the information comes. But you're relying on the fact that if I just switch to my heart state, then I'll have this all planned out and I'll know that I'm going to become this, and in 10 years I'm going to be this. And it's like, it doesn't work like that. You need to get yourself in the present moment and be open to the guidance that is going to come through for you, from your heart, from your intuition, from your spirit guides, from your ancestors, whatever you want to call it. But the only way for that to come through is for you to be in the present moment. So forget this idea that you are the one who's controlling it, because you're not. You get into the present moment and then life will flow through you. What you're supposed to be doing will flow through you. Don't rely so heavily on the mind where you can think things up and imagine things and understand how things are going to be, because that's not how it works. You need to be relying more upon this guidance from this, something that's much greater than us. We can't understand it. Only when we're in the, have you ever like done something where you're in the present moment and something really like amazing words come out, or you sing something and it sounds amazing, or you do something that you just never thought you'd be able to do, because you're in this childlike state where something can flow through you and move through you. And funnily enough, we've got this music on, which is water flowing. So water never stops. Water never stops and goes, oh, I don't know what direction I'm going to go in next down this river, so I'm just going to stop. Because then that's not the nature of water. Water just flows, and it doesn't know where it's going to flow, but it just flows, and it always ends up where it should be because of the current. So that's the same with you. If you're like deep like me and you're into this type of stuff, listen to Bruce Lee's philosophy, where he says like, be like water. That's all about getting into the flow state. And I know it's very deep and it is very philosophical, but it's very interesting as well, and he explains it well. But you need to get out of the rigidity of where you are and allow yourself to flow. Allow this guidance to move through you. The same way I have, like if we use my life as an example, I'm massively putting myself out here doing all these things, like who is a tarot reader on YouTube? Do you know what I mean? Not anyone that I know in my personal life. It's seen as odd. But when I do it, I love it, and things come through that I'm like, wow, how could I have possibly known that? Like, there's obviously something else that's moving through me, because people will say, oh, like, that resonated with me, or that helped me. And it's like, well, I don't know where that comes from. That just moves through me, and something led me to this path where it moves it to get into the state to allow it to move through me. And it's took me a very long time to get to this point. So it'll be the same with you. It's like, it doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. It could be cooking, it could be singing, it could be dancing, it could be football, it could be science, it could just be being a mum, it could just be being a wife. But just whatever makes you in this state where you are present and you are aware, and you're living at 100% capacity. You're not living on 15% in power saver mode, where you're on autopilot and you're just going through the motions of life. That is what's going to bring this soul essence back, because the more you're in that state, the more it can flow through you, and the more it flows through you, the broader the current, the stronger the current is going to get, and then more and more will just flow out of you. I think we're going to call that a day there. I hope that helped you. Like I say, I will have these up very, very soon, these little spell kits, where it's just like a ritual, really, a bath ritual, where you are just moving into like a more pure state of self-love, and then you're allowing things to flow through you, but it'll help you to guide you through what to do. So they're going to be up soon. I also have personal readings if you want to book a personal reading. I have readings on my TikTok. I have tips for yoga and herbs and all this type of stuff on my Instagram. I'm still building my website, so that's going to be up soon. Well, it is up already. It's got a few blog posts and stuff on it, but I mean, it's going to have products and stuff on it very soon. Yeah, so I hope that helped. Thank you so much for watching. Please, if you watch it, can you please like and subscribe to my channel, because obviously I'm very new and I don't have any subscribers yet, and I'd really love some subscribers, or even just a like on the video, just so I know that it helped and you enjoyed it. It would help me massively. It'd help boost my channel. So thank you. Just a little bit to give back to me, because obviously this is time consuming and stuff. I love doing it, but that would help me massively. So if you could do that for me, that'd be brilliant. And yeah, and follow me on all my social medias and everything like that. It's at Co-Created Hippie on everything. Okay, that's all I've got. So take care. I love you and leave you. Oh, sorry. I love you and leave you. Look after yourself and try and take the advice. Okay, bye.